But hopefully you're not seeing my screen. You're not seeing my screen, right? Just me?
Just you, yes.
Okay. All right, good evening, everyone. It's 6:33, so I'm calling this meeting of President's Council to order. The first item of business will be to review and approve the minutes. So I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to try to.
And for all the people that are not speaking, if you could be on mute so we won't hear any background noise. Thank you so much.
And don't forget to sign in. Esther put the link in the chat, so you should be able to get to it through the chat. Okay, so for some reason, my screen is not allowing me to share the minutes, which is fun.
Esther, you're muted.
I think we just lost her, so I'm gonna give her a minute to come back. There she goes. She's back in now. She's logging in. There you go, Rachel.
Okay, you need to make me co-host again so I can share my screen.
Okay. There you go.
Thank you. Now let me share my screen. Okay. Okay, do you see the minutes? Esther, do you see the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, good. I don't need to read them. I just scroll through them slowly, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I don't know how fast a reader everyone is, but these are the minutes from our last meeting in September. The superintendent's report, the training by Shirley Aubin regarding expedited elections. And then Francis gave us the CPAC update. Specifically of interest was the security. That was very important to have that information. Then she had the question and answer portion. So those questions are listed here. Right now we're in the middle of the high school enrollment process. So that Matt came to the CEC meeting, which was yesterday. No, last week, Wednesday. Questions about carrying over balance, new ideas on fundraising, and the calendar of meeting dates for the rest of the year. Anyone have any additions, corrections, deletions, etc.? Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. Okay, can I get a motion to approve the minutes? You can unmute yourself and make a motion. Okay, Annie L makes a motion to approve. Can I have someone second the motion?
I second the motion to approve.
Okay, thank you. So that approves the minutes from our September meeting. And so Francis, was that you? Francis, are you here?
Who's taking the motion?
Okay, so since Francis isn't here, instead of starting with the president's report, we'll start with the superintendent report, if that's okay with Ms. Domingo.
All right, absolutely.
Yay,
Hold on, let me share my screen. Thank you. Rachel, you're doing a great job.
thank you so much.
Virtual meetings are tough.
Always technical difficulties.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's right. Hold on, I'm gonna share my screen.
She's getting ready for next year.
She's like, no, I am not.
Yes, you are.
Okay, hold on. Let me just make sure you can, oh, look at this. Fancy. You guys see my screen? Can you see me? No?
not yet.
See you, but no screen yet.
No screen. Oh, okay, let's see. Share. There we go.
Now we see it.
Okay. It's probably saw my passwords, right? Okay. Okay, slideshow. All right, I didn't change the first one. This is not the CEC superintendent's report. It is the president's council report. See? Okay, so a couple of things that we spoke about at last week's CEC meeting. High school applications are now available. If you visit www.schools.nyc.gov, you will see lots of information and ways to direct families to talk about high schools. As PTA president, and one of the things that we can talk about consistently in terms of parent leadership, you should sit with your school's principal, your parent coordinator, and really talk about, especially in middle schools, to make sure that if there are any ways that you can support through PTA meetings, notifications to families around the high school admissions process. There have been some changes, and I know both Francis and Joe DiBenedetto from President's Council really want parents to be aware of the process so that they're asking the right questions for their students. So for students entering 9th grade in the fall of 2023. Welcome letters are now available in the My Schools account, which over the past few weeks, I've been communicating to families around making sure that they have their account online. And if not, that they're reaching out to their schools to make sure that they have access to it. Or from your child's current New York City public school, you can see their school counselor and they'll be able to help you with that information. Register for specialized high schools for the Shazat test. I know a lot of families were asking that using the link below. Registration is open now until November 4th. High school applications opened on October 12th. So submit your high school applications now through December 1st. You can list up to 12 program choices in your order of preference, and the deadline to apply is December 1st. So I don't know if there are any parent leaders here tonight that have questions about the high school admissions process that I would be happy to answer. Okay. Middle school applications. Middle school application process will open on October 26th, and the deadline to apply is December 1st. Students will receive offers in April. Families will receive a welcome letter from their school with directions to set up in My Schools. And here's the link that parents can go to for to do that. Now, the one thing that Francis asked me to speak to all of you about tonight is we did have an opportunity. I know many of you have heard the chancellor talk about opportunities for districts to select having screened programs in our middle schools. District 25 is a little bit different than other districts, so I just wanted to give you guys some information about the nuances of that. So District 25 is a zoned district, which is every single child in our district is connected to a zoned middle school. We also have middle school choice, which allows our families and students in elementary school and 5th grade to apply to any middle school in our district. And we now will have opportunities. We are going to submit the names of some of our middle schools that through their SLTs have opted to be considered for a central screened program. That will be one class. It will not impact our middle school choice, our zones. It will be an additional program that will be housed in one of 3 schools, or 2 of 3 schools, or all 3 schools, depending upon what the city allows us to do, who show interest in having a screened program. That screening is done through Central DOE. It is not done by the school. It is not done by the district. And they are using 4th grade grades only, and the top 10% of each building in the district to determine whether or not a child is eligible. And if a child is eligible, they will go into a pool. You will be offered, families will be offered space in our screen programs. And if families apply, they will go into a lottery for selection to be in the screen programs. So there are 3 schools that have said that they are interested in opening a screen program in their school. That is PSMS 164, Junior High School 189, and IS 25. So those names will be submitted to central offices for consideration to open screen programs for September 2023. So we will continue to announce to families in the district who will have screen programs in the district for the following school year. We will also maintain our SP classes. If schools had those SP classes, we will maintain those classes as well. As a school community, we will be meeting with building leaders to go over the criteria that we use for placement in those SP programs. And then we will make sure that our elementary school families and our elementary schools in general are aware of that process. So any questions about middle school applications?
I'm sorry if I'm missing something, but what does SP classes mean?
So our SP classes are special progress classes that we have had in District 25 in some of our middle schools for many years. They were here when I was a teacher. So they are not citywide recognized accelerated programs. They are district recognized accelerated programs.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, one other thing in terms of middle schools around the accelerated expectations and classes. We are also going to maintain our Regents readiness programs, where schools will be working individually with students and their families to look at where students are around skills and practices aligned to standards. And if children are interested in taking the Regents, we will work with those students to help prepare them to be ready to take those classes. So it will not just be our screened and SP programs of students that will have access to take the Regents. There will be other opportunities for students to take those Regents as well. Okay, any other questions? Okay, so middle school screen programs I just spoke about, but one of the things that I think is important for our parent leaders to know is that all middle school SLTs were consulted, and they were asked to reach out to community members. So some of you here tonight might have been asked to take part in that process. And a lot of our middle schools chose not to be considered for screen programs. Okay. All right, next. We're doing a lot of amazing work with social media in our district. So one of the ways you can get social with us to see what we're doing, and please share this with your families as well, is to visit www.d25.nyc/social to keep up with all the great things happening in the district. And if there is anything that PTAs want us to put in our social media, you can reach out to my office and we're happy to share some of the amazing things and the amazing work that you guys are doing at your schools as well. Just a couple of highlights. District 25 is a middle school choice district. Every fifth grader can apply to any middle school choice. You could check out our school open houses. Many of our middle schools are already hosting individual open houses. So for example, Bell Academy is November 7th. And College Point Collaborative is October 24th, but you can find all of our schools' middle school open houses at schools.nyc.gov/enrollment/ I don't even know what that is, Louis. So is that in? I don't know what that is. Well, I'll get that and we'll put that in the chat later. Then there's other things that we're highlighting. So for example, PS 165 has Fun Fridays. On Fridays, they end the week with good old fashioned screenless games to build social skills, amazing time. And it's done with not just teachers and administrators, but people from across the school, the custodian, the school aides, the cafeteria workers. So it's great fun at PS 165. We had our first meeting of assistant principals. We're really excited to get back to in-person learning. Tomorrow, I am having a in-person principals meeting. We are all working together to make sure we're living our vision of coming back strong, that we're looking at the needs of our schools, the needs of our kids, and that we are getting to work, and we're really excited about that work. We're continuing to focus on building a strong culture of reading. In addition, in working with our MTSS, our multi-tiered systems of supports to help our kids to catch up on any learning losses that occurred because of the pandemic. 193 had their annual Walk for a Cure for Cancer. We loved that each class was so creative in choosing and representing their different themes. So congratulations to 193 for your volunteer work. And congratulations to the winners of Bell Academy of their anti-bullying poster and essay contest. An amazing way to welcome Bullying Prevention Month and having students promote messages of tolerance and friendship. I love to hear that at Bell Academy and all of our schools, bullying will not be tolerated. So congratulations to our students at Bell Academy. Okay, our state of the district was completed during our CEC meeting. It was also during our DLT meeting. One of the things that I'm going to put in the chat following my presentation tonight is the link to watch the state of the district. It is about an hour-long presentation, 45 minutes to an hour, really about the breakdown of all of the data that from state and iReady to show our families where we are, what our strengths are, where we're looking to grow. So I do encourage all of you to take a look at that. But also as PTA presidents, I do encourage you to sit with your principals to talk about a state of the school. All of our principals should have, and will have in the next couple of weeks, because the data, the state data that was embargoed has just been released. So our principals should be engaging in the state of the school, where they're talking to their community around the celebrations at the school and the areas that they're going to focus on. So as leaders, please sit with them, but as leaders, also make sure that this is being addressed in your SLTs as well. I want to remind our parents, and I do hope that our PTAs will find some time to go through the importance of coming to school every day. It should be a priority for learning. We all know that attending school matters. When I say to all of you, when we're looking at numbers, that we currently have 4,142 students in pre-K to 8 who have already been absent for more than 10% of the school year. It is so important that we as communities enforce coming to school every day. It does take work. I know that. I do it with my own kids. Those days where they say they need a rest, they need a day. There is so much that they miss when we allow for that time. So I do encourage you. I ask that you reach out to your parent coordinators, your principals, to me. We are really focusing on everybody knowing that attending school matters. Here is the most recent data around chronic absenteeism. Our district is in gray. One of the things that we will see and that we're happy about is that we are below both the borough and citywide average. However, there are some of our subgroups where chronic absenteeism is above the borough and the borough average. And approaching the citywide average. Every single one of our schools in our district have a CASE team. Those teams are cultural, attendance, and social emotional learning teams. Their focus is to make sure that they are monitoring attendance on a daily basis and supporting our families that are having concerns with chronic absenteeism. But I do ask us as families and as parent leaders to make sure that chronic absenteeism is something that is addressed at one of your PTA meetings. I am happy to come and speak at it. I am happy to be virtually on it. I feel so strongly about it. So why we need to continue? Students last year who were chronically absent performed over 26% lower on the ELA assessment when compared to their non-chronically absent peers. Students who were chronically absent performed over 36% lower in math assessment when compared to their non-chronically absent peers. So it is so important. There is a direct connection to student performance and chronic absenteeism. And right now, that is the end of my presentation. Are there any questions?
Does the absenteeism count when it comes to kids coming out positive for COVID and having to take the 5-day quarantine?
Yes.
Or
So,
just-
and that's a really good question. And thank you for asking that. So what I tell parents all the time is the reality is, if you are not in school, you are marked absent. So chronic absenteeism comes from missing 10% or more of school in a school year, which is 180 days. So, whether or not you're excused, and for COVID, those go in as excused absence, or unexcused, which is your child doesn't go to school and there's no communication with the school. So what we say for families who have students who are sick with long-term illnesses, more than 5 days, is to more than ever make sure their transition back to school is smooth, and that they're working to make sure that they don't continue to be absent across the year. Okay, any other questions? You guys are an easy audience tonight.
All right, thank you, Superintendent Domingo. And I believe Francis has joined us, so I'll now turn the meeting over to Francis.
Yeah, she's on. So there's 4 board members tonight. So there's Carlos, you, Francis, and Angela. So
Yep. Esther, can I just say one thing? So thank you, Louis. He put all of the different websites that I talked about in my presentation in the chat. So our CEC meeting recording is there, as well as the My Schools calendar of events for open houses. So thank you, Louis, for that.
they just asked me about your listening party via text. If you're still doing your listening tour, I directed them to the website, but you might want
yes, I'm doing a lot this week. Oh, I love that you guys are asking that. Thank you. Wait, let me tell you where I am.
So
I'm at
189.
189 on Wednesday. Today I did a listening and learning tour with our pre-K parents, which was so cute. I really talked about making sure that you are engaged parents right away, starting as early as pre-K. So I am there. I am at 189 on Wednesday, And then.
And then you're doing a We Love Whitestone on Wednesday too.
But on the thing, it only says on the 19th. It's only one thing.
Yeah, but the We Love Whitestone is not our meeting. We're just guests.
Oh, okay.
Also at PS 24 on October 24th at night.
And then we finish at 2:01.
Yep. 201 is, hold on, let me see.
I think November 1st.
Yep. My listening and learning tour. Yes, thank you. Look at you, Louis, November 1st.
Why not?
So
Almost
I
done.
will tell you, I think this has been a great opportunity for me. I have loved to hear from the community and parents on the things we're doing well and the things we can get better at that. So I want to thank all of you for supporting me through this tour. And I'm going to continue to do it across the year. I've had tea time with teachers. We spent time talking together just around some of the concerns that teachers have returning from the pandemic and the things that they love to do every day and to share their ideas. I had a meeting last week with our DC 37, which were our parent coordinators, our school aides, our cafeteria workers, to just talk with them about, you know, the things that they love about their job and some of the things that I can help to do to support them. So it's really been a great opportunity for me. I'm really glad that the chancellor asked us to do it.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you. I'm sorry I'm late. I had an SLT meeting and we had some important business, so I didn't want to miss anything. So I asked Rachel to host. So thank you, Rachel, for hosting, and thank you all for being here. At this time, Rachel, did we do the minutes or not yet?
She did.
Okay, great. Okay, and so at this time, I'm gonna open it up to any questions that anyone might have for their PTA or anything that you're struggling with that you would like more clarity. We could open up. In the meantime, I'm going to ask Esther, because a question came in to me about how does a school get their picture on the district website from their school events?
On our district, on the District 25 website, they would just email it to us and we would share with Louis, who manages that.
Okay. So
Well, yeah, what I want to just say before you do that, please make sure, please make sure that you contact your school principal, because we do have to have the video consent forms that parents give permission for their children's images to be shown, you know, for educational purposes. So those are really important, because although the PTA might not have to be part of that, if we're going to post anything about children on our website, it has to be, actually PTA is bound to that. You can't post pictures of kids, but we would have to have those in place as well.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Francis, thank you so much for asking. Do you mind if I continue asking really quick?
Oh, there's Rosanna. Okay, go
Hi,
ahead.
it's me. I joined. Thank you for and letting me know. That was me who actually texted her and asking, and she reminded me about this meeting. No, I had a question. So would it be better that it comes from the principal, or just what if there are no children on there posted? Just
No,
like
if there's no
little-
children and there's something you're really proud of, you know, and it's adults, I would just really, you know, as a community say, like, we're really interested in promoting the amazing work that we're doing as parents. Do you mind if we send this to the district to have them posted on their website? Absolutely.
All right, because I recently just saw so many local schools, and so proud and so nice to see it on Facebook, on their Facebook page. So I was just curious how 209 can also show that we've already done so many amazing events. So kind of wanted to post it also. So good to know.
You mean through 209 or from on our website?
Well, I noticed it on the District 25 Facebook page that so many varied schools that are in the local District 25 schools, they posted, you know, festivals, meet and greets, and so forth. So I was just curious what we had to do to be allowed to do the same. I wasn't sure that, you know.
Yeah, I would let Janice know, and then you can send them on over to us. If they're kids, you have to have Janice vet it. But if not, if it's just adults and everybody agrees, we're happy to post it.
I just want
Excellent,
to
thank you.
point out, Rosie came up with a great idea. Last year, we had a fall festival where we spent about $300 in just candy to do a candy trail. And Rosanna came up with the idea to do a candy monster. So they basically dress up in like a garbage can and dress up like as like a furry monster. And the kids donate, families donate the candies and feed the candy monster. And
Very cute.
and we went from, what was it? We went from $300 to $30 cost. So thank you, Rosanna, for that great idea. So if anyone else wants to put that idea in their school, it was, the kids loved it, and feeding the candy monster.
Quick
Great
question
idea.
back about the pictures on social, on the website. Would that also apply to anything we would want on social media, for your Facebook or your Instagram pages?
As a school? Or as a
No.
PTA?
If we wanted our school pictures featured on the District 25, like this pictures you were just showing from your Instagram page of the different
Mhm.
activities, would we just get those principals' approval and then email them over to you guys to post on your social media?
Well, I would say anything that have children in them, you should have your principal send them to us. Because the principals have to make sure that every child is represented with a media consent form.
Right.
But adults, you can send straight to us.
Okay, thank you.
Louis, everybody wants to be on our social media. I love it.
Hashtag Danielle.
Thank you for liking one of our 499 PTA pictures. The District 25 liked it. I was like, yeah.
That's right.
That was me.
I have, thank you, Louis. I have a quick question. We're in the process of vetting various apparel vendors. And I was wondering if some of you had a referral that you could email to our PTA email address for any vendors that you work with that you are highly satisfied with. Our email is 499pta@gmail.com.
You could put it in the chat, Rachel. your email.
Okay. And then also another question related to that is, what is, with regard to conflict of interest, because in the past, the PTA has gone through a parent to order shirts. I don't know if the parent is a vendor or simply is a conduit to the vendor, but what is the philosophy about how that relates to a conflict of interest?
I believe, and then Esther, you can correct me, I believe that it can, as long as you tell the general public that this is who's going to be our vendor and everyone's okay with it, especially on the board, I think it is allowed. But just keep in mind that there might be another parent that also maybe sells apparel, and then they're gonna say, hey, why don't you use my company? And so that's the conversations we don't want to have. But it
Okay.
always comes down to what's going to benefit the PTA and who's going to give the better price and deal for what we need, right?
Right.
But that's what you fall into when you have parents. But we've had parents that, you know, have had restaurants or have had, and they, you know, help the PTA in that sense, but it just gets, you know, we just need to make sure it's a fair process, maybe making an announcement at your next PTA meeting and saying, if anyone has an access to apparel, please contact us.
Okay.
And then take it from there. So it's a fair statement. Esther, or Danielle, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, so every time you use a parent that sells, I don't know, I'm just gonna say anything. You know, there's a lot of people that sell stuff, so you want to make sure that it's equal opportunity for everybody. And a lot of schools go ahead and not use the parents because they don't want to go ahead run into any problems. But if it's apparel or anything, you have to bring it up at your meeting. Just let the general audience know that you're looking for somebody, you know, and then introduce that company and should say, it's my company and I'm a parent at your school. I'm going to give you the better deal, and you make sure that you let all the parents know that you're getting the best deal. Also, you have to shop around and make sure that this company is giving you the better deal, not just because it's a parent, you're going to give the job to Esther. You have to make sure that you have proof to parents that, hey, you know what? We're saving $1,000 going with Esther, or we're saving $800 or whatever it is, so that you can prove that to the parents at your meeting and let them know, what a saving you're getting.
So
Which
I'm
is why
actually
I'm
gonna
asking-
put,
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
actually gonna put a link in the chat, the PTA link from the DOE that actually talks about, it gives you a phone number to call, but
Okay.
it also, Chancellor's Regulations A660 addresses issues of conflicts. Although it is somewhat vague, but you might want to review that as a PTA board or PTA in general. But the example that they actually give on this PTA link says, for example, imagine that one of the members of your PTA is also the president and sole owner of ABC Clothing Company, which makes t-shirts. Your PTA wants to hire ABC Clothing Company to provide 200 t-shirts for the graduating class. The PTA member who owns ABC Clothing Company would have a conflict of interest with respect to that transaction. So I'm going to send this to you, but I do think you should review CRA 660. And then you could always call conflicts of interest. There's a lot of times that conflicts come up, and they are really there as a support for the DOE as well as DOE aligned organizations.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
And everyone on the PTA is a conflict, if you think about it, because all parents, teachers, are part of the PTA.
Which is is the reason for me asking for referrals, because I want to make sure I do our due diligence and not just go with this vendor because it's related to a parent, and make sure that, there's not better prices out there.
And
Yeah,
that
this page says officers and members concerned about potential conflicts can contact their district family leadership coordinator, which is Esther, and the DOE Office of Ethics and Conflict of Interest. I'm going to put this all in the chat. I'll put this slide in the chat.
I just text my contact at Face. I'm waiting for them to reply, see if they reply to me. But if the reason why, because you said vendor, so that if that person's already a vendor, they're allowed to sell. But it's we just have to check if it's okay if it's a parent at your school.
Right.
I'm waiting for him to reply. See if he replies. If not, I will get you that answer.
Great, thank you.
Does anyone have any issues that have come up lately in their PTA? Anything on expedited elections or signing checks or fundraising that we can help you with?
I had a question.
Go ahead.
We're going to have an event, a Halloween event at our school. I know that we're supposed to check for vaccine confirmation for the chaperones. They're going to be entering for the lower grades. What does that check entail? We just ask for a card. Is a photo okay with their vaccine card? The Excelsior pass and things like that, or is there something else?
Are
that
you,
we're supposed to do?
are you selling tickets in advance, or are you selling at the door?
We already sold tickets in advance. We're asking the parents to make sure that whoever's going to bring the child, if it's not a parent or guardian, that whoever's bringing the child has to be vaccinated. So that's clearly written. We also send a message through Parent Square, thanks to the help of our school, to make sure that gets translated so that's clear. And anybody who didn't check off the list that the parent who's coming with a child is vaccinated, we're sending that information back to them to please check off or confirm that this is the case. But at the door, is there something extra that we have to do?
No, I mean, the way that they do it is they just check the vaccination card and then, you check for ID to make sure it's that same person. And that's how vaccination is checked. But I'm just asking that question because if you're selling tickets at the door and that person didn't receive ahead of time, you don't want to have an angry parent, telling you
also-
that, they didn't know, and now they have to go home after they're all dressed up.
Also, we definitely know we're not accepting anybody at the door. In fact, I believe today was the last day we're accepting, if I'm not mistaken, applications. So after today, there's no more tickets being sold.
Okay, and then the other thing is that you're still it's not an inclusive event where you're still leaving unvaccinated parents out. So we try to be inclusive and have inclusive events to incorporate all parents, and that's why a lot of these PTA meetings are done virtually, because if you have them in person, we'll come across that problem. So I just want to, we don't want parents to feel that they can't enjoy these events because they're not vaccinated. So just, be careful with that. Does that answer your question?
It does. Thank you.
Hi, Janet. At first I thought you were clapping for us, and then I saw you were just trying to raise your hand.
I did. I pressed the clapping button by accident, but I meant to raise my hand. I was going to ask on that same note, because we're having a Halloween party at our school as well. I'm under the assumption that the PTA is not allowed to be the ones to check COVID. It has to be the school safety agent or someone from school, if I'm not correct. I don't know if anyone here can confirm that.
That is correct.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So now my question back to, that's Carlos, right? Is your safety agent going to check I don't know how many parents bought tickets. Are they going to be able, one safety agent to check all those vaccinations?
Right. So
And how long is that line going to be before they start the party?
So we're sending, we're giving all the students a bracelet, I guess, so that they could, at least we'll confirm that they're the ones who've paid to go into the party. And then it's only gonna be the lower grades that have the chaperone. So I believe that's around 70 children with their parents that we have, if I'm not mistaken. And so the idea is that we're gonna check, there is security present because that's what the permit I have, I included security. And my understanding that I would be at the door with a security officer and then just verifying vaccination statuses when the parents come in. And for the other grades, the older grades, third to fifth grade, the parents are not coming in. They would just come in, drop off the kids, and pick up the kids at the end of the party. So that one only the kids, and then we're required to have one volunteer for every 12 students. So
Keep us posted on how it goes.
will do.
Hi, can I just ask you to repeat what you said about having events in the school and being careful about parents that are unvaccinated feeling like they're excluded? Are we allowed to have, we can have events? You're just saying to be, I missed that part, I'm sorry.
I mean, like right now, we are allowed to have PTA meetings in the school, but then the unvaccinated parents would not be allowed at those meetings. So a lot of PTAs are choosing to go virtual so that everyone can come. There are hybrid meetings, but then, if you don't have the equipment, or you have to have people to run the equipment, it gets a little complicated. Well, we recommend, I know that schools are going to start having events, but we always recommend to be inclusive of all parents. That's always going to be our recommendation. I'm sure in this event that was mentioned, that I'm sure that parents might complain that they couldn't go in or they couldn't volunteer, and that's something the school has to, discuss with those parents. But we would never recommend events that excludes unvaccinated parents.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
Francis, I got a private message. Let me just read it out loud.
Okay.
I just wanted to clarify on something regarding fundraising from the A660. We need fundraising report after each fundraiser, correct? Is everything the PTA does consider a fundraiser? For instance, selling t-shirts, bake sale, readathons, or only certain things?
If you are collecting money for something, it's a fundraiser. I mean, you're raising money. Now, that's why we have a budget in the beginning of the year to see what kind of events or what kind of monies you need to raise. So for example, if your school in past needs $30,000 a year, I'm just giving an example. Some schools might need more, some schools might need less. But let's say your cost and your expenses are 30,000. There's no need to have an abundance of fundraisers that you're going to raise 60,000, because with every fundraiser, there's a lot of time that you have to put in. You have to organize that fundraiser, set up volunteers, get whatever you're going to get. So for example, I'm running our 5th grade this year. We need a certain amount. So once we reach that certain amount, we don't really need to keep fundraising. But there's sometimes the school does different events that the kids are used to, like holiday boutique and stuff, but they're still fundraisers because they're raising money. If
So
it's a give back.
Francis, it's Danielle. Can I just say one quick way to think about? So, so one of the things that they say is that like any kind of fundraiser that anybody does, you know, us as DOE for schools or PTAs, it should be connected to something. So let's say, and you know, listening to Francis speak, there's a lot of times I have conversations with her and had conversations with her specifically about her school. And she would say like, we raise money and we do this with it, right? So, you know, like there are educational programs that PTAs raise money for, social and cultural programs. So if you're asking the question, does fundraising always need to be connected to something? The answer to that is yes. You shouldn't just randomly collect money, because what happens sometimes in certain schools, if we're randomly collecting money that's not tied to something, then we have some schools that have very large PTA budgets that they're not necessarily supposed to have. You know, it's supposed to be, we're collecting this money because we do, you know, and I constantly use this example, like we hired somebody to do beatbox with the kids, right? So that would be an educational program. So as you're speaking as a PTA, you say like, so we do these educational programs. How much money do you think we need for that? And you would technically, you should fundraise for that area. So then in your budget, there's this much money that's going to educational programs, like social and cultural programs. If you're doing like events for, you know, like such as dances and stuff, and you want to be able to contribute to that, like your fundraising could, you know, be part of that as well. So you should be earmarking your fundraising to certain things, like under these big buckets of educational, social, you know, cultural programs at the school, or whatever other things that you do as a PTA.
Yes, and for our school, I've always been an advocate for the programming, like bringing in assemblies or bringing in in-house residencies where a visual artist, a teaching artist comes in and either does visual arts or does performing arts. And these programs are expensive. So that would be something to raise money for. I know in our school, we kind of have a $20,000 budget for programming just for that, because the children love it and it's so essential. Remember, we don't have that many art programs in our school. That's like the first that gets cut, but it's like the most important, I feel, for the social emotional part of education. And so I definitely recommend, if your school doesn't have that type of programming, to look into it. If you need help with that, I can guide you to different areas, different teaching artists. It's a great outlet for children, and there's all different types of art form. So yeah.
Now I have a related question. This is Rachel again. If we have an event that we collect money for, but we don't really view it as a fundraising activity. It's more like a family event, and then generally we like barely break even. Or I don't know this year if we're gonna maybe make $100. We still need a fundraising activity report, correct? Because we took in money.
I mean, like I mentioned before, there are some that we do just to have the kids as a tradition, like holiday boutique or Mother's Day boutique, Father's Day boutique, or any type of thing that the kids are used to. We try to keep so that they have something to look forward to. That's one of the things that, you know, that can kind of help with absenteeism, right? If the children knows that there's going to be a pizza palooza, or if the child knows it's going to be a pajama day, or there's a fundraiser happening, a boutique, they might want to come to school to participate. So some of these events, although we're collecting money, even if you break even, it's still an event, but you're always going to make some type of money because you're, you know, you're asking for money and most of the stuff. But we've been times when, you know, we have certain events that do very well. So, and like, if you see you have certain events that do very well and you already raised most of the money, you don't have to go so crazy to keep fundraising. You know what
But
I
if
mean?
you actually lost money on an event, like we had our field day, and you know, we charged for the food, we charged for the, you know, the baked item, the individually wrapped items, but we also had the expenses of providing all of that and the food. And based on some of the receipts I've already gotten, we're almost at the amount that we made. So I have a feeling that we might not have fully recouped all of the monies that we laid out. Do we still have the responsibility of doing a fundraising activity report so that the parents can see where the money, what money came in, what went out, and what the end number was?
I mean, in that type of fundraiser, you didn't really lose because you paid $5 and you got $5. So there was not really much of a loss. And sometimes we give back a carnival. That's not a fundraiser in our school. We give it to the children, and it's about $3,000 to $4,000. So as long as parents know where this money is going, and if it's being spent on their children, I don't think they're going to complain.
Okay.
I think that, you know, if you're making a carnival, so there are times when we do give back to the children. And that's what the money's for. That's what you're raising it for, to give it back to them, whether it's school supplies, whether it's an event or an assembly, you're giving it back to them. So it's
So
okay
just
if you don't
believe-
make money on one event, because it could be considered like an event or a give back or family engagement.
So it's not gonna look bad on the PTA that we actually didn't make any money on the event.
No.
You know, we
No.
could, yes, charged higher prices for the tickets or something, but then, and made more money, but we didn't do that because, you know, it wasn't about making the money, it was about having the event for the families and the kids.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else? Is anyone having an exciting, like, unique fundraiser that they'd like to share? No one's raising any money.
Hi.
Francis, they're asking me direct message. Can you elaborate on the silent action you had at your school?
Okay, we have Deborah Ferrara who's here, but before that, there was Dr. Kimberly Masick who.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. I just wanted to jump in for a minute because this is the first time I've been to a president's council meeting. I just got sucked into doing all of this over the summer. And it sounds like there's a lot of things that I don't know, like questions I wouldn't even know I'm supposed to ask. Is there somebody I can contact after this who can kind of give me a rundown of some of the important things that we have to make sure we're doing?
So
And
I will say this, you always have myself and you have Esther as well as your family leadership coordinator. But before anything, the first thing you want to do is read your bylaws, right? Your
Mhm.
bylaws will kind of guide you in what you can and what you cannot do. And then after that, you should read the A660. I don't know if we have it, if I could share it.
I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you, Louis.
Yep.
That
Great,
is like, that is like the big golden book of everything that a
Yeah,
PT.
there had to be one.
Huh?
I knew there had to be one.
I know, but you know what? I've been a parent leader for over 10 years and I'm still reading the A660 because sometimes we forget. And then when something, what's great about it is you look it up as a PDF and you do a word search. Like say you want to know about raffles and then everything about raffles comes up. And sometimes when someone asks me a question, I go look at it and then I send them the information. So whatever is in that A660 is what if there's anything that's gray area, you could always come back to me or Esther, and then we can try to get more clarification. But really, once you read that, you'll get a good understanding. You're not going to remember everything, but you're going to have a good understanding of how things are done, like how much is quorum in your meeting, right? What to do if there's a vacancy, what to do when you want to fundraise or you already approved a budget of 10,000 and now you need 15,000, how to go about doing that. So there's always a process. So it's like we couldn't even tell you everything because this is like, how do I explain, like driving? You could learn everything about a car, the tires, the steering wheel, but it's not until you start driving that you start really learning how to drive, right? So
Right.
it's almost like
I
that.
want to make sure we're starting out right.
Yeah, and
So-
you know what? You stepping into the position, you're starting off right, because parent leaders, we need parent leaders in order to have PTAs, right? So you learn as you go.
Yep. And I'm pretty good at learning on the fly. I just need to know where to look. So thank you.
Well, start there, and then whatever questions you have, you can write them down, then you can come to us, and because then you'll understand when we answer it. Esther put in a link of ptalink.org, which is a great website that was done by PTA parents who are actually attorneys. And they
Oh.
have a lot of information on there about fundraising, about raffles and so forth. So you can also match all those documents.
And just really quick, the DOE also has PAPTA link for parent leaders that you could go ahead and get familiar with. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. But Francis is in the PA President's Council. They want to invite Rachel from PAPTA link to come to one of your meetings. So she's a founding person of ptalink.org, who started this website, and it's like Francis said, a bunch of parents that were PAPTA leaders in Brooklyn, and they went ahead and started this. It's a big organization, and it does help a lot of PAPTA with questions that they might have. So it's another option for you to go ahead and check.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
And I always say, if you keep coming to these meetings, different PTAs will have different questions and different issues. And that's how you learn. You know, coming to these meetings, you get to know what's happening, what issues are coming up, and then how to resolve them. Same thing as your own PTA meetings. It's
Mhm.
not just about fundraising, it's about learning how things work and how they should work. And then if there's any gaps, that's where you bring it in. And that's why changes are made to schools, right? If a fundraiser didn't work, like Rachel said, they didn't raise any money. But maybe if you had raffles or you had something else, maybe it can. So these are just things that you just have to keep working at it, and whatever works, keep doing, and whatever doesn't, just fill in the gaps.
So I went ahead and entered the second link, which is for the Department of Education website, which will bring you to the page where it says Parent and Parent Teacher Association. And I'll go ahead and give you, talk about members and their officers, elections, grievances, meetings, notifications. We'll talk about the PAPTA bylaws, finances, parent leader time, PAPTA link, it's even mentioned there, President's Council, Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council, which is Francis's is part of that, but you get a lot of information on both websites in regards, and like Francis said,
Excellent, thank you so much.
every Monday, we're here at our not every Monday, once a month on Mondays, we are here at President's Council. And like Francis said, we learn from each other. And you, like you said, you didn't know stuff. Moving forward, you're gonna learn and you're gonna do, the correct stuff moving forward.
Yeah, and I have a great partner who stepped in with me. So
Yay.
we're just trying to make sure we got our feet solid on the ground before we go running. So
And I want to
you.
remind everybody that President's Council is for the presidents of your PAPTA, but it's open to everybody. So if your other members want to learn, your board members want to learn, they're more than welcome to come to the meeting and learn. They're more than welcome to join us at the meeting, because we want to turn the information over so that when it comes elections, they already know what it's about and they're not afraid or scared to run for the upcoming elections that will be happening April, May.
Yeah, and just, I saw that Louis shared the chancellor's regs. Please click on it and download it to your computer, because I look at it a lot. And it's something that tells you everything you need to know, basically, about a PTA, about SLTs, about everything. So it's definitely all in there. So on that note, I'm going to go to Deborah Ferrara, who was the one who did a silent auction in 2009, and it was very successful. And she'll tell you that how we did it and how we created. Deborah, are you here or are you just in the meeting?
I'm
she's
here,
here.
Francis.
Hi, Deb.
I'm here. I come to see you. Yes, so our silent auction, we did it during that blended learning year. We weren't allowed to have in-person events, it was chaos. So we did this, it was a website, it was called 32auctions.com. And we only paid them if we made money, which we ultimately did. So at the end, there were transaction fees, but it was free to set up. It was completely free to start. So what we basically did was we put out a notice to all of our families, and we created an Amazon wish list, which was actually Francis's idea, and that will be her legacy, because now we use this Amazon wish list for everything. But we had an Amazon wish list set up with all these different ideas for baskets that we wanted to create. So a spa basket, a cooking basket, a baking basket, kind of similar to what we do when we're in person. So we had this amazing wish list. We sent it out to families and said, hey, if you want to donate, you can. I can't tell you, we got maybe 700 orders from our families of 500 that year. I think everyone was just excited to do something like as a community, because you could see who was bidding. So if you and your friends were bidding on items, it just became like a fun thing for our entire school. So we had all the items shipped to my house. We had a group of people come. We created these baskets. We uploaded pictures and descriptions, and then we ran it for about 2 weeks, and parents were able to go on and look at pictures of the items, read descriptions, and do their bidding. We had an iPad that was donated to us and stuff. And I think at the end, after the fees and everything, we made close to $5,000. And it was all through 32 auctions. And we barely even noticed those fees at the end. When I tell you they were so minimal, I want to say maybe a couple of cents on whatever it was. But 32 auctions, they're probably still around. This was only 2 years ago, but I don't know if they've changed anything since we did it, but that's how it worked then. And it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
And the baskets that they made were pretty amazing. I'm not a basket making person, but whoever did the baskets it was pretty amazing baskets, which was very, I guess, enticing to people to bid on. Plus,
it was so much. It was fun.
Plus people they want to win, so they'll keep.
Yeah, right at the end. So on the back end, the PTA could see all of the activity. And it was funny because like our administration was in there and teachers were in there, like, and everyone was doing, it was gonna end at like midnight. And then all of a sudden at like literally out of a movie, it was like 11:59 and this dark horse came in and like stole the iPad. It was crazy, it was chaos. It was the funnest night, which doesn't say a lot about me, but it was a really fun night, the online auction.
I just went online and it's still active. It's still going on. If any of you are interested, you could go ahead and read. And maybe
And I-
have one at your school.
And I think the
And
PTA
please-
list.org has some auctions, websites too, that you can use.
Yes, and if anyone does do the 32 auctions, you can get my contact information from Francis, and I will walk you through it. I can probably
Thank
even
you.
still log on and show you what we did. You can look at our back end and see how it all happens. It was kind of fun, and it was such low, outside of creating the baskets, there was nothing else to do. It was just taking pictures. It was very easy.
Awesome.
So when you
We
say,
could always have a district auction and auction Danielle, like maybe like taping her to the wall or, you know. Or
That would take a lot
I'll
of
pay
tape.
money for that. If we needed, if President's Council needed to raise money.
so Deborah, when you say that the families made donations, they purchased the items from the Amazon wish list or they donated physical items?
Yes, that's what we asked for. And what we did was we had my address included as the delivery address through the wish list. We did include my address on the flyer too, which in hindsight was probably not smart. So I don't really advise, I mean, not that anyone's like come to my house or anything, but looking back on it now, I was like, what was I thinking putting my home address on this flyer? But we did do that. And then some people did ask if they could purchase things that were on and leave them for us at school. They did that as well.
So just to clarify, the reason why it was delivered to Deborah's house is we don't ever want items to be delivered to someone's house, but it was during the pandemic. And it was a time when we were trying to figure out things and trying to see and make things work. So unfortunately, that was the only option because we couldn't get into the schools.
Yeah, you couldn't pick them up in schools, remember? It was tough.
I just want to be clear. I don't want people, you know.
So now that we're out of the pandemic, more or less, we should have it shipped to the school.
Absolutely. Always ship to the schools, because, you know, it's just, because it's very important that PTAs realize how sensitive anything could be, you know, whether you have an election and someone decides to complain about it or, you know, grieve it, or someone, it just takes one parent to complain about something that wasn't equitable or something that they found not to be fair. And then, you know, if it's reported to the district or reported even at a higher level, it could freeze your PTA and you won't be able to fundraise. You won't be able to do anything until that investigation is over. So that's why we recommend that you kind of just think about it in both ends so that your PTA functions all year round, because your school needs it, your student needs it, and you need it. So that's why we tell you to keep that in mind. Michael D'Antona said, let the bidding begin with Danielle. So he's on board for that.
Listen, D'Antona, I'm bringing you down with me. Get a dunk tank.
Oh, we should do that.
Ooh, nice. I'll
We're
pay
at
for
the
that one.
Linden lot.
Listen, anything for the kids, no problem.
We'll do it
Listen,
together. Linden Place dunk tank.
Listen,
Wow.
in Frank Sinatra school, they had, the principal got in that dunk tank and the kids went wild. Wild. They had to pay I think it was $1 for 2 throws, and they all stood online paying that $1. So that's a really good idea with dunk tanks. Like that's obviously not in the winter time, but to bring that and let, you know, staff go in there. There's a lot of fun ways to fundraise. You just have to talk it with your school, your SLTs, and make sure everyone's on board. Anyone else? Deborah says in the chat, White Post Farms also has a great pie and bread fundraiser beginning soon.
Yeah.
And they're, I know Danielle always loves our pie sales, but they are really good.
Yes,
really good.
Deborah, send me the flyer.
Agreed, I'm in
Yes,
on that one too.
You guys,
Oh, okay,
and
definitely.
and a reminder to everybody, if you send your flyers over to Francis and I, and we'll share, you know, I'll share with the district office and,
What happened, Esther?
no, I'm just trying to read, this message that came. They said, thank you
Be
for
careful,
sharing this.
Esther. Don't ever pause like that. You might be in the next
I'm
DJ.
gonna be like, imagine,
You're gonna be put on a DJ video.
imagine. I just wanted to make a quick announcement. Thanks to all our schools. We got, all our schools have entered their information of the results of their election into the system, SPLCI. So, District 25 is rocking like always. So, just remember to, I want to remind the board to always have a copy of your bylaws with you and the copy of your election certification form with you, which is this form. This is for President's Council, but you have your PAPTA. Have a copy with you at all times along with your bylaws, so you are all on the same page. And should any questions come up at your meeting regarding your bylaws, you're able to flip through your bylaws and answer the question. Like one of the number one questions asked is, what is our quorum? And you need to know what is your quorum at all times so that you could have a running, functioning meeting.
And just on that note, Esther, I just read my son's high school bylaws. I just asked for them. So they probably thought I was a crazy parent who wanted to see their bylaws. Like who asked that? Only me. But when I read the bylaws, I saw their quorum for PTA meetings was 15. And I was like, wow, that's a lot. So I just reminded them that, you know, the minimum is 8. It's, you know, 2 board members. What is it? Wait, what is this ratio? 2, it's 6 parents, 2 board members. And so it's 8. 8 is the minimum. If 8 is the minimum, if you make it 15, it's okay. But then you're making it harder for yourself to make quorum and vote at your meetings. And, you know, sometimes meetings are not like we have people go to meetings, some people don't, but I would say if the minimum says 8, then do the minimum. Because sometimes getting attendance at meetings can be difficult, so you don't want to make it. So when I wrote to the PTA there and said, you know, unless you wanted 15, their response was, no, we wanted 8. So sometimes, and all I did was read the bylaws. And the chancellor's, you know, regs. So this is why it's so important to know, because you can walk into a school and they may be doing something that they don't have to do, because if it says 8 is the quorum, you know, you don't want to make it more, you know, it might be too difficult. And then you have to then change it again. And of course you can change it, but you can never have less than 8. If that makes sense. Janet, you had your hand up. Did we answer your question, or do you have another question?
No, it wasn't a question really. It was a comment I was going to make about fundraising, not to go back to the topic, but we did a C's Candy fundraiser last year.
I love C's.
They are absolutely delicious, and it's very little work on the PTA. They do everything online. All we had to do is make the flyer, and they ship the chocolates directly to the purchaser. So we made about $1,000. So it was a very easy $1,000 if you want to look into it. They give you, I think it's 20% off the top of my head. It might be 15 of the total sales. The only weird thing is that, not weird thing, but you don't get your own personal fundraising page like you do for some other online fundraisers. It's a total school total. So it kind of eliminates like giving each kid a prize. Like you know, a lot of those online fundraisers, you can figure out which child raised the most money and give them a prize. But for this one, it's just a total for the school. but it made it really easy to just blast out the link everywhere, you know, to get some sales. So yeah, we made about $1,000 and it was very, very easy.
So I just added the link on the,
Easy is always good, but I will say though, I did reach out to Lou from Miss Chocolate and he's giving a 45% back.
Oh yeah,
Ooh.
Lou's great. I've worked with Lou also.
So I don't
Yeah.
know, that beats the 20, but.
Yeah, but
and
but
he
then you
also
have to
had
do all
chocolate
the
bars.
work.
He gives 60% on donations.
I don't know, because we just did, the school just did in Miss Chocolate, everything was done online. We just sent,
Oh, really?
we just sent the link out. My daughter actually raised over $800 just because it was a link. So it was easy. I mean, you just had to, you know, send it out. But if I can figure that out online, it was easy.
Do they ship directly to the, like, do they ship it to the school and then you have to distribute it, or do they ship it
Oh,
directly?
no, yes, we do have to distribute it.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, we're
Yours did-
pretty short-handed for like during the day help at our school. I'm with PS 107, by the way.
Excuse me, Francis, actually, Miss Chocolate does have the option to ship to home now. It's just for
Yeah,
a fee.
they just for a fee, yeah.
Oh, awesome. I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, I mean, it was really good. And, you know, if they're giving more money, I would say go with that.
The shipping fees for Miss Chocolate, I will say, are expensive. My mom purchased a $15 item and the shipping was $12.50. So she spent
Yeah.
almost as much in shipping as she did for the item.
Yeah, it is expensive. But you know what? That's what happens when they don't live next to you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like my mom lives, I can go and bring it to my mother and she paid shipping, but that's just, you know, I don't know. And I said to her, she's like, that's okay. So, okay. I don't know. So just a reminder, when you come into the meeting, it would be helpful if you rename yourself. If you want to rename, usually when I go to the Chancellor's Parent Advisory Council, I have to put my district, D25, and my first and last name. So if possible, maybe going forward, everyone can just put like their school that they're from and their first and last name, so we can kind of get familiar with who's who and what school. Maybe someone will say, oh, that's right next to my school. And, you know, you guys can partner up and network that way. So right now, I don't know who's raising their hand, but it says iPhone.
Oh, hi. Yes, sorry. This is my first meeting. I'm filling in for the PS21 president. I actually had a comment and a question. So PS21 recently brought back our movie night, and it was a great event. The kids had a blast. Parents came, one guardian per child, and it was a success. But going back to what you touched on earlier, which was the idea of equity, I feel like we're just constantly towing that fine line between trying to get back to in person and getting back to the normal, quote unquote. But then also there are parents who are not going to be able to come into the building. So it's like, so what I'm hearing some fundraiser ideas. So I guess my question part of it was, what can we do that will make all the families feel included, vaccinated and unvaccinated?
Well, it's very hard to make that determination when we don't make the rules, right? It comes from the DOE and right now they're saying that no one that's unvaccinated can enter a DOE building. So that's not something that we made. It's a rule that has to be lifted from them. And who knows when that will be. But in the meantime, we have to kind of work with what we have. And this is what we have. A lot of times, a lot of schools are doing outdoor events, which is weather permitting. It includes all parents. We're having a fall festival this Friday, and we're having it outdoors so that everyone can come. We also are trying to do indoor events, but just for the kids, not for any parents. So it's still inclusive because there's no parents. You know, but then only the ones that volunteer can be, have to be vaccinated. So it's still putting a lot of pressure on the PTAs, and we understand that, but that it's what we have to work with. On the other thing, I will say this: when you do a fundraiser that involves a movie and paying, just be careful because it's not supposed to be called movie night. I think for copyright reasons, you can call it family fun night or Hollywood night. Just avoid movie because if someone, you know, it's almost like if we don't really have copyrights to these films to be making money off somebody else's artwork, right? But what we should be selling is the event, not the movie, if that makes sense. So I just wanna, and I know Esther, you can elaborate on that because we've said that before in meetings.
No, you touched on everything. You shouldn't call it a movie night, call it something else. Because you don't know what parent might be working for Disney or something, and then they'll go ahead and try to charge you the licensing or the permit to watch the movie, and I hear it's really, really expensive. Francis, I do have another direct message. It's my first time at this meeting. Can you please introduce who's president, co-president, secretary, treasurer? Thanks.
Okay, so I'm Francis Gonzalez. I'm co-president. My other co-president is Jahira Burton, who is not here tonight. Rachel, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Rachel Baltadano. I'm one of the co-recording secretaries, and I'm from PSIS 499.
And oh, I forgot, I'm from PS 209. Carlos and Angela, I know you're here.
Hi, my name is Carlos Franco. I'm the co-recording secretary as well, along with Rachel. And I'm the PTA president for PS 184 Flushing Manor.
Hi, my name is Angela Lam, and I'm the treasurer. I'm the PTA president for PS 163.
Awesome. Thank you, Carlos and Angela. I saw you guys change your name. That's cool.
Yeah, it just makes it easier. So if you want now, and if you don't know how to rename yourself, you go to where your box is. There's on the right top corner is 3 dots. You click it and you should be able to scroll down and it says rename. And then a little box comes up and you can type in. So it just makes it a little easier. As a matter of fact, I should do that. I'll rename myself and then put co-president. President's Council. So that makes it a little easier for us. And Esther, you might want to put family leadership coordinator.
Yeah, I will. I just want to clarify on this question. So once all the PAPTAs in District 25 elect their board members, the president of the PAPTA at each school is invited to attend President's Council election. It is all the presidents of all the PAPTA presidents of each school in District 25 that select our board members that are here. So we have an election right after all our schools have an election, usually is in June, right, Francis? And where it's a special meeting, all the new incoming PAPTAs, where most of you were there, are they come to the meeting, and anybody who wants to run for president or treasurers or recording secretaries, they get elected that night, and that's how they become District 25 President's Council board team. And if you're interested, you're more than welcome to run come May.
Why are you laughing, Esther?
Yeah, because I'm like, hey, maybe they're interested. So hey.
So I just want to be clear that we don't have to wait till every of our schools holds their elections. There is a quorum that I think that if the majority of our schools, right, have already done their elections, that we can still hold elections. So I just want to be clear with that, because sometimes schools don't have elections until September. So we have to keep the process going. So
we've been very fortunate here at the district that by the time June comes around, most of our schools have had a successful election. We've been very fortunate, but there is 1 or 2 schools that have to have an election for a missing board member. and they go ahead and have that in September. So we've been very fortunate here at District 25 that all our schools are pretty much very successful when it comes to their elections. And that's a big part for all the parents that step up and, you know, become parent leaders at the school. And so thank you to all of you that have that position, that are part of the board. Thank you so much, because without you, we wouldn't have a president's council. So thank you.
Yes, thank you for all of you who are parent leaders. And if you're here tonight, you are a parent leader. If you are stepping up in your school, on a PTA board, you are a parent leader. Because I often find parents that go, I'm not a parent leader. I'm like, yes, you are. Yeah, you are. That's what it is. You're leading the other parents, right? You're leading them into these roles, and then you're helping and supporting the schools and helping them as well. So definitely answer questions for your parents, support your school, support your parents if they have any questions. If you don't know it, reach out to us or have them reach out to us. This is what we're here to support each other and to make it a really great district.
And it's really nice to see all of you changing your names, to see all the schools that are here tonight. It's 499, 209, 184, 193, 185, 189, 163, 185, 107. Awesome. Great.
I think we'll do that in the next meeting. When everybody's coming in, we'll have everyone rename themselves.
Yeah. It's great to see a representation from all our schools. Just a quick, for all of you, there's 36 schools in District 25 that our superintendent oversees. 2 of them are the pre-K center, and they do not have a PAPTA. They have a parent something else. So that brings us down to 34 schools, elementary and middle schools. So that's 34 running PAPTAs in our district. Yeah, 34.
And as you see, we don't have 100% attendance.
Yeah.
So that's one thing we're striving for, because coming to these meetings is like a little forum for us to kind of brainstorm what we're doing, any updates that our superintendent gives to us. So it's a lot of, you have a lot of access to some great information that will eventually trickle down to your school, but you kind of get it here first.
And our superintendent and our deputy attend, and Lewis, my colleague, and I do see other members from our team awesome that are here. The superintendent, deputy, and Lewis attend every meetings, and the superintendent is here at every meeting giving you a report of what's going on and the latest that's going on in our district. So you could always turnkey the information to your PAPTA. I went ahead and put the link to the website where you go ahead and log into this meeting. If you go, you could find everything you need to know about our district. And once you go into the public meetings, you could go into President's Council, and you would find all the information there about President's Council. And you would also find your D25 President's Council board, who was last year and then who is this year. You would find all the information you need to know when it comes to District 25.
I think PS 185 sent a holiday cheesecake fundraiser. I wish you would, if you're here, if you can share that in the chat, that would be nice. Annie, can you share that in the chat?
Yeah, let me try to post it on the chat now.
Yeah, it's always great to see these fundraisers and different ways for schools to raise money. And like Rachel said, have family engagement events for the children. Like our fall festival is going to do both, right? It's going to be a family engagement where the family can come, and all families, because it's outdoors. And then we get to also raise money. If we don't raise a lot of money, it's okay. We still had an event and we still made some money back, so that we take that money and put it towards something else. You know?
Great. Now I want an Oreo cheesecake.
Ooh, that sounds good. They have a Oreo, I think a dark chocolate Oreo cake and the pumpkin, the White Post Farms.
Thank you, Annie, for sharing.
Thank you, Annie. Any other questions? So the only question I received recently was, and a couple of times, is the online. People are still confused with online and being that they can use a debit card to make purchases. So I will say that in the chancellor's regulations, it actually discourages it. It says only use it if the vendor does not take checks. So you always have to write a disbursement form, and on that form, you're gonna have to indicate that this person didn't accept. Because if they do accept, there's not really any reason to use a debit. Every time you use a debit card, it's almost like a withdrawal. And you know, one of the rules for a withdrawal is, well, first of all, we don't do withdrawals, but in any checks or any transactions, it should be 2 signatures on a check. So when you write a check, that's kind of our way of a withdrawal, because you're paying someone. There's 2 signatures, but when you use a debit card, there's no 2 signatures on it. So you have to be mindful about using the debit card and try really not to use it unless, you know, it was starting to be a little common for the pandemic because the schools weren't open, nothing was open, people didn't have access to anything. So we had to use it, but we don't want people to just keep, you know, spending money without any type of record. So try to do everything with check. It's just easier. Remember, at the end of the year, a parent might say, you know what, I want to, you know, and there's times when you get audited by the parents, or you have to do an audit, and they have to check and make sure that all the money spent is recorded. And so it's very important. And any purchases with debits, sometimes you don't often see. Another question I get is, can I do Zelle? Can I do PayPal? Anything that you're going to do online has to be connected to the PTA account, not to anyone's personal account. So if there's an account, in order to use Zelle, you have to tie it into a social security number, then you cannot use it. It has to be your business PTA account. So I hope that makes it clear for people, and you have to contact your financial institution that has different rules for different things. So that's about it. Any other questions or any other concerns? Anyone? Okay, so I don't see anything in the chat, and I don't see anyone's hand raised, so it is 8:02. I'm going to ask that someone make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I motion to adjourn. Carlos Franco.
Thank you. And someone to second it, please.
Rachel, I second.
Annie?
Okay, thank you, Rachel. And so at this time, the meeting is adjourned. You can all have a great night. Esther and I and Rachel and the board members will stay on in case you have any questions. We'd like to thank our superintendent, Danielle Domingo, for being great at what you do. Keep striving for our district and keep working for our district. And thank you to Michael D'Antona and Louis for all the support that you give to us, and Esther, thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.
Good night.
At this time, I will stop recording.